Hi guys, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We continue the lecture with the seed plants. Okay, so basically these seed plants consist of angiosperm, which is the flowering plant, and also non-flowering plant, also called as gymnosperm. So we will cover on the classification, on the characteristic, and the life cycle for both of the plant. For the introduction, mosses and fern allies, they reproduce by spores. Meanwhile, the advanced plants, they use seed as the primary of reproduction and dispersal. So that is the difference between mosses, fern, and advanced plant. Each seed contains a well-developed embryonic sporophyte and a food supply that's surrounded by a protective seed coat. The seed developed from ovule, which is a megasporangium in enclosed structure following fertilization of an egg cell within. The two groups of seed plants are gymnosperm and angiosperm. The two groups are based on whether or not their ovules are surrounded by ovary wall. So both type of plant, okay, they have ovules. Gymnosperm in Greek means naked seed. Okay, from the word gymnosperm, you should know the gymno means naked, sperm means seed. Okay, why this gymnosperm is named as gymnosperm? Because the seed are totally exposed on the scale of cones. Okay, later we will see the image of the cones. Okay, angiosperm means the seed enclosed in a case. So these angiosperm are flowering plant that produce their seed within a fruit. Okay, so the fruit is actually, the fruit that you have eaten is actually the mature ovary. Okay, the seed within the fruit is the ovule. Okay, the ovule. So thus the ovules of angiosperm are protected. Both the gymnosperm and angiosperm, they have vascular tissue, which is the xylem and phloem. So these two types of plant, they are advanced. Okay, they are more evolution compared to the seedless plant. So this is a comparison of spore and seed. Okay, what is spore? So you can read from the table. Okay, if you can see, spore consists of single cell. How about the food reserve and the seed, the protection? For spore, there is no protection, but seed has seed coat to protect the seed itself. So this is comparison of gymnosperm and angiosperm in terms of the growth habit, in the reproductive structure, the pollen grain transfer. If you can see, gymno, they prefer wind as a method for transfer the pollen, for pollen transfer. But for angiosperm, they need animals or wind. So this agent or medium of pollen transfer is also play a main role for the morphology of the plant itself. For example, for gymnosperm, the example of gymnosperm is a pine tree. Pine tree is not very attractive. Okay, only brown and green color. So the animals are not less to be attracted with the gymnosperm. So there is no animal in here. Okay, no animal. So animal, they prefer angiosperm because angiosperm is more colorful and attractive. So fertilization for gymnosperm, the egg fertilized with sperm form zygote. Meanwhile, for angiosperm, they do the double fertilization. And for the seed for a gymnosperm, as you learned before, they expose on scales of the cone. So the cone is actually the seed, and the seed for angiosperm enclosed within the fruit. So this one, you can read this up. Okay, now we go into gymnosperm. Gymnosperm is a vascular plant. When it said vascular, they have both xylem and phloem. But the seed totally exposed or born on the scales of cones. Okay, so the seed dia dekat luar. Okay, kita boleh nampak seed dia. This Gymnosperm classified into 4 phyla. The largest is Coniferophyta, conifer, followed by cycad, Ginkgophyta and Genetophyta. So these are the interesting members of this type of plant. Okay, the left one is Sequidendron giganteum. Okay, the largest Gymnosperm. Okay, and the above, okay, the middle one is Pinus aristata, and the right one is the Sequoia sempervirens. Gymnosperm is a group of spermatophyte seed-bearing plants with ovules on the edge or blade of an open sporophyll. Okay, this one I will tengok gambar dia nanti. Sporophyll, they refer to the leaf. Okay, the green leaf that produce both the male and female cones. Okay, so normally female cones is located in higher places compared to male cones, and the size is bigger. Okay, the spermatophyte comprise of those plants that produce seed. Okay, so any plant that produce seed, okay, we call them as spermatophyte. And these spermatophyte, okay, they are a part of the embryophyte or land plants. So this is the explanation for this paragraph. Okay, this is example Pseudotsuga menziesii, cone. Okay, now the second is conifer under phylum Coniferophyta. So this phylum, okay, includes pines. Okay, I know you have seen pines, spruce, hemlocks and fir, the largest phylums of the Gymnosperm. So many conifers, they produce resin. Okay, resin is a chemical substance that may protect from the attack by fungi and insects. Okay, these conifer, they are woody plant that bear needles. So they have a leaf in the form of needles and produce seed in cones. So this is the character of the conifer. Okay, they are woody plants and they live in a needle shape and they produce seed in cones. Most conifer, they are monoecious and have male and female reproductive part in separate cones on the same plant. So I think you can check what is the monoecious mean. The male cones, they produce pollen grain or the immature male gametophyte that are carried by air currents to female cones. The female cones, they produce female gametophyte within the ovules, we call as megasporum. Example, Pines contorta, the male and female gametophyte. Okay, so from the phylogenetic tree, okay, we can see that, okay, the most primitive of the Gymnosperm is from cycad, okay, followed by ginkgos, conifer and Genetophyta, and the recent plant or the most advanced plant is the Angiosperm. So this one is the leaf variation in conifer. Okay, the diagram C. So we can see that the leaf is a needle shape. Okay, so the leaf is needle shape, and this is the cone or the seed. Okay, the cone that containing seed for the conifer. Conifer contribute food and shelter to animals. Their root hold the soil in place, and humans use their wood for building the materials and paper products. For in medicine, this plant, they provide anti-cancer okay, and they have a compound such as the plantae and resin. The fierce spruce, pines and cedar are grown for landscape design and holiday Christmas tree. So this is the benefit or the example of the usage of Coniferophyta for us. Okay, if the question asks what is the use or the benefit of the plant for humankind, for biotechnology, for medicine, for health, so awak boleh bagikan mengikut soalan yang ditanya. Okay, this is another explanation, okay, about the anti-cancer drug taxol. So you can read this up. The genus Pinus is the largest genus in conifer. So a pine tree is a mature sporophyte. Okay, pine is heterosporous. Heterosporous mean it provide two types of spores because they have microspore and megaspore. Okay, kalau ikutkan yang sebelum ni kita belajar, dia hanya homospores, dia hanya satu jenis spore sahaja. But for pine, for gymnosperm, they have two types of spores. One is male and another is female. So the male cones usually 1 cm or less, which are smaller compared to female cones, and they generally produce on the lower branch. So this is the characteristic for the male cones. They are smaller compared to female and they located at the lower branch. Each male cones consists of sporophyll. Sporophyll is the leafy part, okay, the leafy part that bear 2 microsporangia at the base. The microsporangia contains microsporocyte. Okay, so inside the microsporangia ada microsporocyte. This microsporocyte, it contain microspore mother cell. Dia ada satu microspore mother cell yang besar. So this microspore mother cell ni dia akan buat meiosis untuk menghasilkan haploid microspore. So each microspore will undergo meiosis to form 4 haploid microspore. Okay, this is example. Okay, example of the pine tree. For example, Pinus pinaster, Pinus pinia. So you can remember either one. Okay, right. So we come into the life cycle. So the first image is quite blurry. Kita tengok pada the second diagram. Okay, this is the life cycle of the pine. Okay, start from number 1, the mature sporophyte. Okay, you must know the mature sporophyte contain male cones and female cones. So each of the scale, okay, they contain the microsporocyte and megasporocyte. So each of the scale will undergo the meiosis. Okay, each of the microsporangium, okay, they go meiosis to form the haploid microspore or haploid megaspores. So this is the cross section for the male cone. Okay, if you can see, it contains many microspore. Okay, each of the microspore, they will undergo the meiosis to form into pollen grain. So this pollen grain will be transferred to the female cone by wind. Okay, dia akan diterbangkan by wind. So that is the medium of the pollen grain transfer. So this is a female gametophyte. Okay, if you can see, the female is actually contain 2 ovule. Okay, so these 2 ovule akan pollinated by the pollen grain at the same time. Okay, so once the female gametophyte is ready to be pollinated, okay, dia akan menghasilkan a sticky liquid, okay, at the opening. Dia akan menghasilkan satu liquid yang sticky lah dekat bahagian opening, so that when the pollen is transferred, the pollen akan terus melekat dekat opening of the megaspore tu. Okay, and then once the pollen stick to the opening, it will initiate the formation of the pollen tube. Barulah pollen tube akan terbentuk, and this pollen tube, dia akan transfer sperm from the pollen to be fertilized with the eggs inside the megasporangium. Once the the egg and sperm form or fuse, zygote will be formed. So this zygote okay, is diploid. Okay, you must remember it is diploid, and this process is happen at the female cone, mature female cone. So this is the fertilized female cone So dia ada 2 ovule tadi kan, so dia akan fertilize serentak, jadi sekarang dia dah jadi seed lah. So dia ada 2 seed kat sini. Okay, so this is the zoom in image of the seed. So once the zygote form, the zygote of course dia akan grow by the process of mitosis. So dia akan grow membentuk embryo. Okay, so this is a young embryo. It has a shoot like structure, okay, pucuk, and then dia akan bentuk akar. Dia ada bahagian pucuk, dia ada bahagian akar. So kita panggil young embryo lah. Dia ada basic structure of the plant. So this embryo is covered by a seed coat. Okay, so seed coat ni penting untuk protect the young embryo. Once dia dah jumpa tempat yang sesuai untuk membesar, barulah seed coat tu akan release the embryo to be germinated into new seedling. So this is the process. You must remember, inside the sporophyte, okay, there are 2 types of cone, female and male cones, but the difference between these two is the location. Okay, macam contoh female, they located at the upper branch, and the size also bigger compared to the male cones. And each of the scale, okay, scale of the cone, they contain the sporocytes for each male and female. Jadi setiap daripada scale ni ada dia punya seed kat situ And then kita kena tahu, you kena tahu dalam female dia ada 2 ovule. So pollination will be happen twice, okay, at the same time. Dia akan berlaku serentak 2. Okay, so and then this one boleh tengok sendirilah. Okay. Okay, so this slide, you can read this up. Okay, this is explanation in details about the life cycle of the pine. Okay, and then this one, the microscopic image of the pine. Okay, for example, this image, the first image is the pinus young ovulate cone. Kita tengok dia masih young, and dia punya bahagian apa ni, megasporon dia belum matang lagi. Okay, this is megasporocyte. Okay, so dia dah matang ready to be pollinated. And then this is mature ovule. Okay, okay, ni semua gambar boleh tengok lah Okay, so this is young embryo. Okay, so this is inside the female female cone. Okay, mature female cone. Kita tengok dia ada 2, sebab dia ada dalam megaspore dia ada 2 ovule. So satu. Okay, this is mature embryo. So when ovule is ready to receive pollen, it produces a sticky droplet at the opening. So this is the explanation of the life cycle previously. So this one you can read this up, and then make notes. At the life cycle notes tu awak tulis note apa yang berlaku kat situ. Okay, normally the question asks you to illustrate. Okay, illustrate the life cycle of the plant. So this one will help your understanding about the life cycle. Okay, this one also the same what happened to the embryo. Okay, what give the embryo food? Of course the nutritive tissue. Okay, this one's also the explanation of the diagram. Same goes with this. Okay.